So here I am. I'm in Deerfield, Illinois. And make no mistake, this is a place I did like growing up. So this was part of it. After I moved out of the city, I only spent a couple years here. And we moved back into the city for my junior and senior year in high school. But the people I met in the area and that, I had a lot of good relationships with people, and I did enjoy growing up here, and I did like the atmosphere and everything. Make no mistake about it. But as I mentioned, things could have went a lot better. This is Charles J. Crucial Middle School, or this used to be Wilmot Junior High. Now it's a middle school. Same thing, junior high, middle school. And this is on a big field. Now, let me show you. So it's won these, we won a bunch of rewards. So it's won some, designation, Imagination Global Champion 2008. But we won the Presidential Award too. They used to have it back up there. That was a long time ago. But here, this junior high, I played basketball. So that's the only thing we had in the junior high. Now, I played for the Young Warriors, and my coach, my head coach, very good guy, and he was a semi-pro football player for the Chicago Fire. He played for the Chicago Fire. He was the quarterback for the Chicago Fire, and he was a very good guy. And basically, we would have been undefeated, but I missed one game, and because I missed a game, we lost. But we dominated everybody. But the junior high here, what I'm going to mention is they had this beautiful field here called Clavey Field back here. And I'll show you it. But this is where the Park District had its baseball team and everything. But the junior high can have its own baseball team. Now, you say the Park District, okay, that's separate. The Park District baseball team plays during the summer. The junior high's baseball team would play in the spring. So here's this beautiful field, and my brother John used to be on the Orioles. Yes, he played on Deerfield Park League. I was on the traveling team. He was on the Park League. You know, the Deerfield Park team, played other teams in Deerfield. And he was an Oriole, and he played center field. My brother was a center fielder. So here, they can start a junior high baseball team. Junior high. And also this Clavey Field, Wilmot Elementary can use this and have an elementary school baseball team. And who can sponsor it? The Chicago Cubs. There used to be a Chicago Cub, a Chicago Bull, Kurt Heinrich over there. But it used to be Keith Moreland and so on, Cubs over here. And they can get this going. But it's at the elementary school and junior high level. They didn't use this field. We never used this field. And we could have had a soccer team. We could have had a baseball team. Truly, we could have had all these sports teams. All we had was a basketball team. One sports team, a basketball team. We could have had a gymnastics team, you name it. And it's a big field out here. And it's lights. See the lights up here? We practiced in the evening, in the winter, and the lights are on. This field has always been lit. So after school we practice, and in the wintertime it gets dark early, and so the field's lit. And it's beautiful. But the junior high and elementary school didn't use this field for their sports teams. They could have did track and field. They can put a track in here. On the outside of this field, they can put a track. Yes, a running track. This is beautiful. They can install a running track in this field, so they can have track and field sports as well. Truly, but they haven't filled that out. And this is a very big field. And it's right off the highway, but it's a big field. And the elementary school and the junior high don't take advantage of it. They don't have anything building world-class athletes. Now, my friend, who used to live in this corner house, in the basement, he was older than me, but he had a train thing that was not on this house, but anyways, on this corner up here by the stop sign. Anyways, he had a huge train on the bottom basement. But also who lived right up here is the Suck family. They were Olympic judo. Yes, they were Olympic judo. They were Asians and they were Olympians in judo. And they lived up here, and I got along. The father, the whole family, great people. Great people. And I lost connection with them, but I don't know. Suck must be a Japanese last name, and I don't know how they spelled it, but you can look it up. You go back to, let's see, junior high was 1982 in high school, so it was 81, and so they were Olympians, I think, in 80, but you can look it up. They were from Deerfield, great family, and it was a family thing. The family, from one generation to the next, went on to be Olympics in judo. It was a family thing, a family business to be Olympians. So from one generation to the next, father taught son, could teach daughter, and no, I just knew a son. I don't know if they ever had a daughter. But I used to play wiffle ball up here with Peter Sangren, and in the backyard over the summer, and we make the wiffle ball and bat and play. His father's a pharmacist, great guy. And again, the parents, like his mother and father, great to me. Matt Hammond's mother and father, great to me. Jeff Friedman's mother and father, incredibly good to me. All these, Marvin and Mickey Cohen, incredibly good to me. The parents loved me, and they were good to me. The kids, they were all over the board, but the parents consistently treated me with incredible dignity and respect. Truly, incredible dignity and respect. The same thing when I lived in the city of Chicago. All the kids, they were all over but their parents, they treated me with absolute respect and dignity. So most of the interactions I had with the parents, I did all kinds of things. I helped build Marvin's deck and many other things. And that's why I went back and visited Grant McCuba. His mother, great to me. And I don't know when his father passed, or I forget exactly, but his mother was always good. I went and visited her. Keith Moreland, his wife, and Keith were great to me. I didn't really know the daughter. But again, he played for the Cubs, and Cindy was Miss Texas. But they were great to me, and I went back and visited Cindy when I came back from Benedictine. I visited Mr. and Mrs. Friedman. I visited Dave, God rest his soul, and I never knew his brother, and God rest his soul. But again, my friend who passed away, snapped his neck. Anyways, his parents were great to me. And I went back and visited them, and I consoled them after Dave died as well. But they were great to me. And it was hard. They moved out of Deerfield because they had both of their sons. One accidentally hanged himself, and the other accidentally broke his neck and drowned. And so they didn't want to live here anymore because of the memories, the house and everything, and growing, all the kids, and everywhere they went, they would just see the kids, and they couldn't take it, and they said they had to move to a new location where everything was new so they could at least focus on moving forward in life, not forgetting the kids, but at least try to live the best they could before they passed, because everything reminded them of the kids, and it would just cause them to be in absolute misery and pain and tears. And so they had to relocate. And that's, anyways, but this is an industrial corporate park here in Deerfield. So Deerfield has a big corporate park, and there's a Marriott hotel back here, Marriott Suites, that you don't really know about. Truly, it really doesn't get advertised or anything else. But the only reason I knew about it, the Marriott Suite, is because when I worked for the Courtyard, if we didn't have room, we would send them over to the Courtyard in Deerfield. I worked at the one in Highland Park, or we would send them over to the Marriott Suite, and we had van service. So here's the suite, and I hope I'm not getting harassed by Deerfield police because everything I'm doing is legal. So, did they want to get a harassment charge? Before, I could call the U.S. prosecutor's office, and truly, I called them on the Tucson police, and I could have a police officer written up, imprisoned. Truly. So, anyways, but that's when I worked for Senator McCain. Truly. And I dealt with police cases. But anyways, here's the Marriott Suites back here. And you don't really know about it. And they have this big corporate park back here. And the funny thing is, this is where my ex worked for Sloan. She worked here in Deerfield before I think they moved their offices, and then she moved to the pharmaceutical firm. But anyways, this is a big corporate park. And so this drives a lot of revenue for Deerfield, but I don't understand why property taxes are so high. And I have a lot of problems with police unnecessarily constantly harassing me. It didn't used to be that way. But anyways, this goes up on Sanders Road. And what they did here in Deerfield was a good move. Now, on Deerfield Road, you can only get on going southbound. You have to go up to Bannockburn Road to get on going northbound. And you can get off going southbound there, and you can get on northbound on Bannockburn Road. But that's way up there. So, to make things feasible for the corporate park, they had to figure out, well, we need a north-south expressway entrance. Now, if you go up to 94, which is 41, it's 41 up here, it turns into Interstate 94, you can go north and south on Deerfield Road. So Deerfield Road turns into Highland Park. So in Highland Park, it changes names, Deerfield Road. So the street is the same, but the street changes names between suburbs. But anyways, you take Deerfield Road down, you can get in north and south on 94. And then if you get up here in Northbrook, there's another entrance that you can go north and south as well. Now, on either side of me, there's corporate parks. And this is Discover, the credit card. And then this is now Amgen. It used to be a big Baxter facility. Baxter Travenol was up here. And like I told you about pharmaceuticals, they have to do it the right way. They can't be destroying people. That's what they should have learned from the opioid crisis. Because eventually, if they don't do things correctly, it ends up in lawsuits and they lose way more than they ever made. And that's what it's supposed to be. They take away any profit and then punish you more above that. That's why the pharmaceutical companies went bankrupt. So what I said is absolutely correct. And if they don't do things the right way, then they jeopardize their existence. So they're supposed to do things the right way. And so you can see the Amgen sign up here. This used to be a Japanese firm. And then it went from Takata to Horizon, which I don't know, but my friend Paul, who is Serbian, worked for Takata. That was a Japanese pharmaceutical. My friend Jen, she worked for a Japanese pharmaceutical, Estelas, and that's in Northbrook, still there, but this used to be a Japanese pharmaceutical firm. And then it went to Horizon, which I have no idea who they are. And now Amgen took over. And so this, again, is going into the tax base of Deerfield. So, again, to offset the property taxes of the residents. So the corporation pays a lot to be there, and that generates a lot of property tax. And then you have on the other side, this is what they did that was ingenious, that didn't exist when I was a kid. They installed this, north and south. This is only the tollway, but what's ingenious, if you get on from Deerfield, which has been there since I've been a kid, you can take the spur, the 294 spur, and it will take you to 94. So you don't have to drive down this street. It takes traffic off. And so you get on at Deerfield Road, takes you in a loop, and you head south, and you stay to the left, and you take the spur, and it takes you down to 94. This takes you both ways. And this is very beneficial for the Hyatt. And then they have an Embassy Suite. Do you see a sign for an Embassy Suites? Do you see any sign for an Embassy Suites? Anywhere here, do you see a sign for an Embassy Suites? Nope. You don't see any sign for Embassy Suites, right? Because there is an Embassy Suites. And let's go back here. So there's some other North Shore independent living. Yeah. I look forward to getting a wife and kids and living independent with them. And the funny thing is, these independent living places I'm against. Do you know they can foster, all these seniors can get foster kids? Here's the sign for Embassy Suites. Let me pull up right here. So you can't really see it because of the lights, but it says Embassy Suites. Not on the road, but again, and these seniors can work in orphanages. Oh yeah, they can foster kids, they can work in orphanages, but you can't foster kids in independent living. And so you take the seniors out of connection with the youth, and you take all that wisdom by interacting with these older people that are grandparents and great-grandparents and some great-great-grandparents. What did Jennifer Kim do? She took a trip to South Korea in 2002, my ex. And what did she do? And I cried on the phone with her when we talked one time. But she went up there to spend time with her grandmother. And so she took the trip just to go up there to spend time with her grandmother so her grandmother could mentor her. My friend Mary, who was in my small group, used to spend lots of time with her grandmother. And her grandmother mentored Mary, and Mary was the one helping the North Koreans. So Mary loved her grandmother, and her grandmother was incredibly godly woman. It was every Sunday she loved to dress up in her dress, and she'd get all clean and things, and Sunday going to church. How many of these senior communities stay connected with churches? Truly. How many of these senior communities stay connected with churches? Here's the Embassy Suite. This used to be a Baxter facility right here. These buildings have been basically kind of vacant. This used to be all Baxter. Now, what are you going to fill this in? And here's the winter passage. They have a path connecting the buildings. See how the buildings connected? They have that pathway connecting the building. This is what they do in Minnesota. They connect the buildings, not underground like in Colorado, like in Toronto, but above ground in Minnesota. And they have a lot of buildings connected with these above ground walkways. So you can go from one building to another without going outside during the winter. So this used to be all Baxter. But the mayor of Deerfield and that, they didn't have an exit strategy. They knew they were leaving and moving, but they never had an exit strategy. Where are we going to pivot? For all these corporate clients, if they move, you have to have exit strategies. And you also have to have a retainment team. If they move, they don't have to move out of Deerfield. So they don't want that. Say, we'll do a deal. We have land over here, just like they did with the New Orleans, New England Patriots. They built the new stadium next to the old stadium, like they did in Detroit. I think they tore down the Silverdome and built the new stadium right next door. So one thing, instead of them going somewhere else for A-class property, and this is these buildings here, they own buildings where I showed you in that other corporate park, that was all Baxter. They were an incredibly big employer. But they can get into all kinds of things. So again, daily vitamins and supplements and that are non-pharmaceutical. You need to take them because you're flying, you're traveling, you need these things. You need low grades, low quantity of supplements. So I don't understand. That's where they could move into, and they can have an EAS and all that, but they don't get into that. My friend, what's his name, Neil, he owned a company. My other friend, Tina, they both got into the supplement. My other friend, Josh, he got into the supplement. Side effects are very minimal, truly. And they're only supplementing protein and other things that are naturally occurring in film and food. And pharmaceuticals, you're putting a lot of this is why you have to have a prescription, because of the dosage is incredibly high. And when you get into high dosages, the body can run into problems handling those high dosage. So that's why over the long run, when you're on these things, you're taking medication that's extremely high dose. So for it to work, like I said, the guy from Spark, he lowers the dosage. He does everything to try to bring down the dosage over time. So he tries meditation, exercise, stretching, yoga, and so on, ways to bring down the dosage. So the ones that he can't get off, he tries to bring down the dosage over time to minimize the possibility of side effects. But say he's just a selfish guy. What is he doing? He's protecting his license, because he's not going to have malpractice suits. The patients aren't going to experience side effects. And if they do, it's going to be something very minor. Very minor. Because he works on lowering the dosage and finding things that can lower it. Dietary, truly, dietitians, other ways, so he can lower the dosage. So if pharmaceuticals really want to stay in place and not have problems, they need to figure out how to make it more effective at lower doses. And that's what I've been doing with absorption, bioavailability, and everything else. So you can bring down the dosage, but bring up the effectiveness. And if you bring down the dosage, then you won't get those long-term negative changing side effects. That'll be less common. But the reason it's more common is because as people age, you have to bring up the dosage. Well, if they do things right, they should be able to bring down. They get them stabilized, and they work with dietitians and other things, and they bring down the amount they need. Like the opioids, they could have brought down the level, made it lower it with different treatments like rehabilitation, dietary, and slowly and systematically lower it. But here's Deerfield, and it's a great place, and I have nothing wrong with this, but in that way. Now, the high school, I had some issues. I shared that with you. But again, the parents and many other people were very good to me. So it's kind of like I had the angels and the devils. But again, they have here, you have Roots, and you have Planet Fitness, which I call Planet Hell. And then here's a church. The church doesn't do anything with the senior centers, right? Should, but they don't. When I went to the Korean church that's in Northbrook, what did the Korean church have? It had one side with the youth, the younger, the 20s and younger, 20s, 30s, and so on. Truly. And then the 20s, 30s, and so on. And then they had a separate for it, but the senior population, they had the other part where we had the wake for, well, not a wake, but the funeral services without the body for glow. I didn't see the casket. But anyways, it was in a senior congregation. So the Asian church, the Korean Asian church, had a whole separate side for seniors, keeping their seniors very active. You don't understand. This is the same with the Chinese church. They have their congregation 70, 80, 90-year-old plus. They attend church every week. That's another reason that Asians live longer in America. They don't lose connect. They have one half of the church is for the adults, and then another part of it is for the youth. Like, I had friends that did, Crispy, Dave, and his wife, and that dealt with youth ministry, and Frank and Linda and others. But they had the other side where it was the 18 and above, basically 18 to say 60. And then the 6-year-olds and above, they were on the senior side. But they keep them active and engaged. Big thing, like my friend Hong, his parents, both are doctors in that. But the thing is, he wanted to stay and make sure he's near his parents and keep them active, engaged. He had this obligation. They took care of things for him. They raised him and so on, and wanted to make sure his parents stay active and engaged and everything else. And that's one thing that's another thing they do right in the senior population within Asians. So even thinking about sending them to a long-term care facility, they rather do it at home and take care of them. So they weren't. And I told them, just get long-term care and you can have them be taken care of home. Like my friend Ok Young. Her father and mother lived with her, and her father was on dialysis. But sending him to a long-term care facility, sending him away, that's not in the Asian community. I have a Chinese doctor downtown. She's retired, and she has 2 of her senior relatives, husband and wife, that live with her, and she takes care of them. But they take care. The younger generation has an obligation to the older generation. And this is why they live longer. They stay very connected to their family. Truly, they stay very connected to their family. So here's where I used to work, the courtyard in Highland Park. And they redid the courtyards, took away the adobe. It really had a desert look to it. It was sand and adobe. It was the outside was adobe. And they changed it and modernized it. It's a good look. I like the look. before the, southwest look they did. And it's around the courtyard. All the rooms are around the courtyard. Like Embassy Suites. They have the whole hotels around the center, a courtyard. But it's indoor. At the Marriott courtyard, the courtyard is outside. And Marriott courtyard. And it actually has a big courtyard in the center. So the name isn't misleading. It's the Marriott courtyard. So this is the other access here. Now I showed you that's 94 down there, 294 north and south. This is 94 north and south. And so this is the freeway, that's the tollway. But they have a spur that comes in. You get on 294 south and it leads to 94 east. And it merges here. But again, I passed Northbrook Court that was up there. And this area used to be one of the most prominent areas. When I was a kid, this area was one of the richest places in the United States. And then on this corner, where I opened my mom an account, and anyways, I'm not going to go into the securities fraud that happened, but this used to have Scottrade right here, a corner office, a firm called Scottrade. You don't hear about it. You hear about E-Trade, but there was a firm called Scottrade that ended up going out of business. But the reason it went out of business, securities fraud. All these companies, Tyco, Enron, WorldCom, many others. I forget I can go on, but all this securities fraud, those people lost all their money. So the firm went out of business. E-Trade almost went out of business. So security fraud, this is a discount outlet, the Village Square in Northbrook. And so my friend Julie Cho used to live in Northbrook. She liked Northbrook. She moved to Evanston, but she used to live in Northbrook. And I love Julie. Truly. And they used to have basically what I say, securities fraud. It took down Scottrade, almost took down E-Trade. It took down all those day traders that worked for my friend David. His firm collapsed, a day trading firm. And why did it collapse? Really? Because of people like Bernie Madoff and that taking money out. That money, that $50 billion, didn't go to other brokers. They created fraud. And Bernie Madoff didn't invest the money, and the market never got the money. But there are a lot of people that are smaller than Bernie Madoff, but did billion-dollar scams. It just didn't reach 50 billion. But they did hundreds of millions, billions, and all of this destroyed the market. And it destroyed these firms. So all the investors in Scottrade took it in the pants. And yeah, E-Trade took it in the pants. And all these, my friend David Guerrero, David Guerrero's a great guy, but my other friend David, he owned this with another guy, and their day trading firm collapsed. You can't have a day trading firm when you have a lot of market fraud. And then my friends that run the options in that all that fraud in the securities market, it destroyed them. It destroyed them. It destroyed the options exchange. Oh, yeah. Destroyed the options, the future. All those big scams imploded. Now, here's another entrance going southbound, because a lot of people go into the city. So there's an exit over there, too, from northbound, but not a northbound entrance. There's only a southbound entrance and a northbound exit. But you don't understand. All that fraud takes money out of the market. And then all the fraud that goes in, the hundreds of billions of dollars in black market activity, that never shows up. So all those pharmaceutical firms and that, people, drink liquor and so on. Well, if you're drinking liquor, you're doing drugs, you're paying more for the drugs and you're spending less on the liquor. But either way, the drug market causes the collapse. All the black markets causes the collapse of the securities, whether private or public. Either way, it destroys the security market because it sucks up all that investment under the table. And so the black market destroys all financial markets. It undercuts how big firms can grow. It undercuts Louis Vuitton, undercuts Prada. All those knockoffs undercut their ability to grow. They can open up an H&M. And that's what I would say for the knockoff firms. Hey, why don't you come legit and produce goods for H&M? They need high trendy. That's what knockoffs are, trying to do things that are trendy. And all those firms can be converted to legitimate businesses. Now, you have to go in and make sure there's no labor violations and no safety violations, the work environment's right, and meaning truly there's no safety violations, the building isn't a death trap, and so on. But all those businesses in China can be converted. And then when they're making those, like the movie A Working Man, and he's buying that, those are chemists that are making those. Those are pharmaceuticals. You can turn them into making supplements. Truly, all those cocaine things and that, they have the lab set up and the facility. All they need is the proper governance and the compliance, and you can convert all those labs for crystal meth and everything into legitimate businesses. They're already mixers. They're already got the lab facilities and everything else, and you can offer them a way out. So, like dealing in Colombia, they all those deal in illegal narcotics and so on. Those rebels in bring up their economics. Show them that they can turn the illegal drug trade into a legal thing, and they can make legal products, but they have to be supervised by the government. And what they're complaining about is they say they are not being treated fairly, and they're not getting the right economics. So think of a way to unwind them, and the good people will come along and the bad people won't. And you'll know who you need to destroy and who you can convert. Who you need to destroy, who is the truly evil people, and who you can convert. So again, I showed you they were trying to change the cocoa crops into other things, trying to get them, but they couldn't find a crop that was valued well enough for them. But the whole point is that you can convert these, and there were people trying to convert these people to legitimate businesses. So take all these knockoff facilities, like the watches and all that, they're making them. So why don't you just turn all that manufacturing into legitimate? And they can sell them at Marshall's and TJ Maxx. Yeah, lookalikes. But they don't say Rolex. But they look like a Rolex. So, again, they can sell these knockoffs, these lower cost but high fashion watches. But they're not the real thing. They're Fugazis. But the thing is, that's fine. That makes people that are poor feel very good. They have something that looks good. It's not the real thing. It has some other name on it, like Fossil. It's Fossil. I used to buy their watches. They were dirt cheap, but they were very fashionable. They were basically trying to match, Cartier and so on in some ways, just to be fashionable and trendy. But it only cost a few bucks. So, and they go great with clothing and great with if a girl's wearing earrings and so on and so forth. So again, you can turn all those businesses legal. And again, I show you and challenges, and you have to overcome your challenges. But the whole point is that we can bring all that darkness into the light. And all those people can be spared jail. Truly can be spared jail. So you give them a chance to repent. And for the ones that don't, they got to go. You'll know who your evil people are, who are the truly hardened criminals who love doing these illegal things, from the people who are doing it out of necessity. What you're doing is trying to save the people, and this is why Jesus saved the woman at the well, Mary, because as Ruth found the way, and remember the story of Ruth, and what did she do? She used to go to the field, and she wasn't stealing. This was stuff, it was waste product, and she'd have to go through the whole field to find a little bit of it to feed herself and her mother-in-law. But she wasn't stealing. Back then, they would have just offed you. She wasn't stealing. And he saw that other people, and she was doing him a favor by cleaning up things. Truly, she was doing him a favor by taking care of things. And so there's a little place I used to go here with Arnie took me to. I think it's the Three Tarts, but one of these little restaurants back here. This is in Northfield. Northbrook is next to Northfield. Northfield has the entrance to the expressway. So I'll show you here on the signage, it says Northfield. So Northfield is right along the expressway. Northbrook is further west of Northfield, but Northfield borders Northbrook, and you have to get to the expressway 94. You have to go from Northbrook through Northfield. So these are nice little shops and everything. And so this is at Hap End Bar and Grill. I went here for lunch. It was a good lunch with Ernie. He was on WGN. He was an accountant. And we were trying, me and David, since David was a CPA as well, we are trying to do business. So it has nice places, and there's a little hot dog place. I've been over there. It's decent. And, you know, they have a little taco place. So they got some variety of food. And anyways, what I'm telling you is if you can move those into legitimate, then you can do private placements, and eventually those companies might emerge and be. China needs all kinds of small cap. So I'm going to put this, since it's too long, I'm going to put it on YouTube, but I'll show you how many stock issues, and think of a country the size of China or a country the size of India. In India, for the first time, overtook Hong Kong for the amount of trading volume. India overtook Hong Kong for the amount of trading volume. But the thing is, they need a lot of the small caps to grow. Ultra small caps, the market should hold. Small caps. And then within there you get, growth and mid cap, or you get growth and value and blend. Blend is value and growth together. So it's value, blend, and growth, the three categories. And then they need more securities on their public exchanges. And so also they need more private placements. And those can go through dark pools. You can still trade private placements, but that's off-exchange action, like over-the-counter trading. They can set up something to trade private placements, but that would be in the dark pool. That is not like the normal publicly disclosed. Private placements are private for a reason, but it can go through dark pools. And you can trade private placements through dark pools. Like Dell went private, and it could trade through the dark pools, through these over-the-counter markets that are off exchange. So, anyways, they need this, and they don't have it, and they need to build this financial infrastructure.